We all know that gates in the AoE franchise play a very vital role in setting up our defenses. But did you know that you can specify the direction of the gate in Age of Empires 4? So exactly what role does the direction of the gate play when we decide to wall up, especially if it opens for your units on either direction just fine? Welcome to Age of Noob everyone, and let's talk about that. In Age of Empires 2, gates are very simple. For both the Palisade and Stone gates, you simply build the gate and it opens and closes as your units approach it from either direction. If the gate is open, all units, including the enemies, can walk through it. Overall, it's quite intuitive and simple. You can also build them on their own without the need of walls themselves. It looks silly, but it actually has some niche quick walling usefulness. In Age of Empires 4, you cannot build the gate on its own, as it requires at least being attached to a section of a wall, and the unit pathing mechanics are also not that simple. With that said, let's jump right in. Alright, let's first start with building the gate in the first place. Currently, there's an annoying bug that doesn't allow you to build a gate on top of the foundations of your to-be-built walls. Hence, you need a nearby section of the wall at least partially constructed for you to be able to lay the foundation of the gate in the first place. Once you can do that, you'll realize an important detail. The gate foundation hover will show a curved yellow arrow indicating the direction of the gate. To change the direction of the gate, simply move your mouse at the direction you'd like the gate to open towards. It works the same way for stone walls as well. When I first started the game, I thought gates worked identically as AoE2 and didn't even realize it had directions. Turns out it does have important in-game consequences, so pay attention to this. Here's a typical Palisade wall, and I'll instruct these two villagers to build a Palisade gate each with opposite directions. The one on the left will be pointing inward, while the one on the right will be pointing outward. As you can see, for friendly units, the gate direction for Palisade walls does not matter. They can enter and exit from either direction without any issues. You can also see which way the gate actually opens, so that's a great visual cue for both you and your opponent. Okay, now let's test the same interaction for enemy units. Once again, the gate on the left will open inwards and the one on the right will open outwards. No matter what I did, the enemy units simply could not pass through the gate. I've tried spam clicking, using different lengths of walls and so on, but neither the scout nor the spearman were able to walk through the gate wide open, regardless of the direction of the gate. Now, I'm not really sure if this is intended or a bug, but from a gameplay standpoint as it currently stands in the current patch, it does not matter at all which direction you build your Palisade gates, so don't even bother. If someone in the comment section below knows about an important interaction with the Palisade gate's direction that I'm unaware of, please let me know and I'll pin that comment for visibility. And no, I've tried doing the same thing from the inside as well for either gate and using another civilization other than the English you see on the screen, and they could not pass through either. So yes, the Palisade gates seem impenetrable for enemy units regardless of the gate direction in the current patch. Okay, now let's move on to the stone walls as they have a lot more complexity than Palisade walls. We'll do the same here, with the left gate pointing inwards and the right gate pointing outwards. Once again, no matter how hard I tried, neither the scout nor the spearman were able to get through either gate. Heck, funnily enough, I unintentionally converted a sheep inside the walls as well, and it couldn't get through out of the gate either. Hence, the interaction is identical with Palisade gates. That said, stone walls have an additional mechanic that we need to take into consideration. Let's start with the most obvious and important one, which is manning the walls. When gates are unlocked, the direction of the gate does not matter, which means any units can climb up the walls from either side of the gate. When the gates are locked, however, then only units who are in the town within the walls can climb up the walls through the locked gate that is pointing outwards. Funnily enough, the opposite is true if you are outside of your walls. The gates pointing inwards will allow you to man the walls from outside despite being locked, while the outward gate won't allow you in or on top of the walls. Okay, but why does any of this even matter? Why even bother locking gates if there is no scenario in which enemy units can even walk through the gates regardless of which direction it was built? Well, we'll get to that in a second. There are a few more important interactions. We do know that enemy units can't enter through the gates, but can they climb up the walls without the use of siege towers? Well, if your gate is pointing outwards, then as expected, enemy units won't be able to climb the walls, just like your own units if the gate is locked. That said, enemy units can climb up your walls through gates pointing inwards, regardless of it being locked or not. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world because those units cannot jump down into your economy as they're stuck on the walls if all walls are still intact. But ranged infantry units such as archers, crossbows, or hand cannoneers can obviously wreak havoc with their increased range and reduced incoming damage. Though remember that they will be exposed to your melee units because they have nowhere to run but back to the gate they climbed up from. Hence, if this happens to you, don't panic and see if you can pin them down for a quick kill. If you don't have the military though, you're gonna have a rough time. But yes, this also means that if you somehow trap enemy units within your walls and your gate is pointing outwards, they can climb your walls from the inside using that gate, so be careful. Alright, with that out of the way, let's talk about everyone's favorite siege unit, the siege tower. Obviously, regardless of the gate direction, the siege towers can ungarrison enemy units onto your walls. The important interaction begins here though. For gates pointing outwards, the siege tower can ungarrison enemy units onto your walls, and because the gate is pointing outwards, enemy units can actually just head down into your town and start raiding with no issues. Obviously, if enemy units are ungarrisoned and the siege tower moves away or is destroyed, those units are stuck there forever until another siege tower comes to the rescue or somehow the enemy destroys your walls. The opposite is true for the gate pointing inward. This means that siege towers are almost practically useless apart from possibly tanking a bit of the incoming damage from the defenders. Enemy melee units can already climb up the walls themselves and do not need the siege tower. And funnily enough, since they are stuck on the wall, they cannot enter your town and the siege tower cannot help with that either. In short, what is ironic is that pointing the gate inward, which is quote-unquote the wrong direction, is actually an anti-siege tower play. That said, this obviously means that you'll really need to be careful against enemy infantry units, as they can climb up your walls if they can reach them alive. In short, and funnily enough, place your gates facing the wrong direction, which is inwards, if you've constructed that wall section somewhere far away enough from your town where enemy range units cannot really hit anything. Because that means that the only way to get through those walls is by destroying them. Hence, the shock value of the siege tower becomes useless there. Otherwise, it's often just a better idea to have your gates oriented outwards so enemy units cannot climb your walls easily on their own. Once again, I'm fairly certain that there is a bug right now with the gate direction interaction, as locking or unlocking gates is 99% useless. Enemy units cannot pass through them anyway regardless of the direction of the gate, so what's the point of locking your gates except the very niche scenario in which you want to keep your trade units inside for some reason. Hence, if you're watching this video sometime in the future, check the pinned comment below to see if I've posted any updates on this, as a future patch may change this interaction once again. Who knows though, this might be the intended interaction and not a bug, so I'll update you folks if I find out more information. And finally, despite my rigorous testing, if any one of you have any insight regarding why someone might lock their gates at all other than not allowing your trade units to go outside, then please let me know in the comment section below so we can share that knowledge with the community. To wrap up, the gate direction for Palisade walls don't matter at all, so don't even bother checking them. Stone gate directions do matter, in which pointing the gate inward to your town means that enemy units can climb up your walls without a siege tower, but cannot climb down the walls into your town, or pointing the gate outward means that enemy units can only climb your walls using a siege tower, but they can also head down into your town through any nearby gate. Hence, be sure to pick wisely depending on your situation. If you're just doing the typical circular wall that encompasses your town defensively, pointing your gates outward is a safe bet, as siege towers are already very uncommon on the battlefield. Well, that's pretty much all you need to know about the infamous gate direction. There is zero documentation or in-game tooltips that explain this mechanic, unfortunately, so we might find out more weird interactions in the future. As always, if you don't want to miss out on any Age of Empires content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Hope you all enjoyed this video, folks. Don't forget to orient your gates properly, and see you all in the next one.
I should have known I'd leave alone. Just goes to show